What's up, family? We back once again. We back once again. All right. So we streaming live on Hollywood Studios 4D TV. That's the YouTube channel. Y'all watching this on Facebook or anywhere else, y'all need to go subscribe, like the videos, watch the videos, share the videos. We're streaming live. And if you want to be a part of the conversation as this stuff goes on, then join the community in Hollywood Studios. All right. So Hollywood Studios, it is the last studio standing. Hollywood Studios. I'm here with Predestiny's Beauty. I'm here with Predestiny's Beauty. Every last one of these young people, every last one of these young people represents a response to the title of this video. Fake wise men, Magi, school days. School Days. Remember, Spike Lee made School Days. Spike Lee created the movie School Days. And what School Days did, in case you don't know, have you see that movie, School Days? You need to check it out. School Days introduced into rap culture the HSBCU Black Greek fraternity. Black Greek fraternities have been around since ancient Greece and Rome, and our people have been joining fraternal organizations since ancient Greece and Rome. But what you'll learn and what we're exposing at Hollywood 4D TV is Hollywood was created and the entertainment media was created to promote a secular, counterfeit, artificial image other than our all natural, God-given, perfect image that he gave us. All right. So for those of y'all who are watching, and for this next generation who we passing the mantle down to, just imagine Tyra Banks and America's Next Top Model. Okay? Tyra Banks and America's Next Top Model. Also, imagine Fox's American Idol. Okay? So there's a theme throughout all entertainment. All right? There's a theme throughout all entertainment. The theme throughout entertainment in the world is the claim is that Europe is the refined, highest culture. Okay? They claim that Europe is the seat of civilization, the birthplace of sophistication, renaissance, development, any good adjective that they want to put on No, describe the world. Like the greatness, the great things that have come in the world. They want the world to believe that all of the contributions came as a result of Europeans leading the way and paving the way for achievement and advancement, right? But when you dig down deep in the facts, okay?
Here for a couple.
When you dig down deep in the facts, popular culture. All right. So popular culture is a thing that really sells everything. Popular culture is consumed by everyone across the globe. All right. And the images on pop culture is you and me, the face of pop culture. Music, sports, all right? Like they try to promote rock and roll and all of that, but the world knows that when they want to promote pop culture and sell something, they go get some of these rappers, all right? They put a rap track on, the commercials, all of that. You know what I'm saying? All right. So all of this comes from a school of thought, though. Okay. And so what you guys represent are a return back to the original, the all natural. All right. This is what y'all represent. Each and every one of y'all is like a member on a team, right? And you know how on a basketball team, everybody has their own position. You got the center, you got the power forward, you got the small forward, you got the point guard, you got the shooting guard, right? And then when the center sub out, if I'm the coach, if I sub out my center, I'm going to put in another center. I'm not going to put a point guard in and replace my 7-foot center, and I already got a point guard in there. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because your particular role on the team and what you do and what you specialize in on the team is very specific. You understand? And when the team comes together as a unit, when the separate individuals, right? When you sacrifice wanting to be a ball hog and wanting to be the superstar, wanting to be the whatever, and when I sacrifice wanting to be the face of the team and wanting to be the one that they always put the camera in front of, when I sacrifice that, and when you sacrifice that, and when everybody else sacrifices that, and we all just say, yeah, I'm the best of the best on this team at doing this. And I'm not worried about somebody putting a camera in my face. I'm not worried about endorsements. I'm not worried about whatever. You know what I'm worried about? What I'm concerned about? What can I do to make us win? What can I do to help build this championship run that we about to go on? All right. And so when we all commit to sacrifice self, not be selfish, but to build the championship together, then if it means you gotta hit the weights 2 times a day, go out there and shoot 1,000 jump shots a day, go out and run 4 miles a day, go out there and change your diet in the off season and eat right and whatever, then you're going to commit to that and you're going to do all of that. And even if I'm not looking at it, if I'm not there, say I'm the coach, say I'm your whatever, your point guard or whatever. If I'm not there, you doing what you committed to doing. And when more of us on our team make that commitment to each other to build the championship, and when more of us make that commitment, then it's being made on other teams, then that's what we're gonna win the championship.
Hello, Moto.
That's how you build championships. Championships aren't won. Championships are built. All right. There's a specific blueprint for building championships. And it's the same blueprint. All right. So each and every one of you guys, each and every one of these youngsters represents a stream of income, represents a championship in the Ark of the Covenant. It's 8. There's 8 of them. The young one that I'm speaking to right now is Predestiny's Beauty. Predestiny. So there's a championship that Moses led the children of Israel, that Moses built. And that ship set sail from Egypt and went through a Red Sea. And Joshua set sail in that same championship. And it went through the Jordan River. And it came in on the other side of the bank at the Promised Land. That championship was called the Exodus. The Exodus. Exit from Egypt to the Promised Land. The Exodus, that championship. In the Ark of the Covenant, Ark of the in the beginning covenant. And there's a text in 1 Corinthians that says the things that they went through. Everything they went through in that journey, setting sail from Egypt to the Promised Land. Paul comes back and says, that championship that was built was just a blueprint. It is an example for those on whom the final ages are come. He said every single thing, from the elders crying and God hearing the cries of the elders and calling Moses to a burning bush. Say, now you're ready. You have been being prepared. And now you're ready. You've transformed into the deliverer, alien in this nation. Alien in this nation. It's about transformation and then formation. Moses left a murderer. He came back a deliverer. Alien in this nation. Transformation. Championship transformation. This young lady was given a name at birth. But through this training program that they've been going through, She's coming to the period of her life. Just like Moses, just like Jacob. Jacob, name was changed from Jacob to Israel. We always get a new name. Her new name is now Predestiny's Beauty. Now she comes back to deliver the message. We call them lasages. Layish messages. It's a royal and wise, a sovereign, royal, wise message. Lasages. We deliver them. So Predestiny's Beauty is bringing the fulfillment deliverer message for the people to get into the ark. The final ark that has been built is finished, it's done, it's complete. Now it's time to get into the ark because we about to go to the promised land. This is called the Brexodus. First it was the Exodus, now it's the Brexodus. From the slavery of Britain. The exit from Britain's slavery. Britain is just the governor of Rome. Christ had to deal with Herod. The wise men had to go and deal with Herod because Herod was the governor of Jerusalem for Rome during those days. Herod ain't had no ties to the everlasting gospel. Herod he had ties to the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but they ain't had no ties to the everlasting gospel. They didn't have no ties to the covenant because they was down with Caesar. And so now the Brexodus is a movement where we're using this young one right here to come and deliver the message to the other 8 that it's time. Each and every one of them has been given a very specific role, a very, very specific stream. And us as the leaders, as the head of this team, the head of this body, each member transforms. This is a member of the body. These are the arms, the legs, the hands, the feet. And my wife and I, we serve as the head of this body. And it's time to transform and then form. That's become one unit in service. All right. So this particular one, predestiny right here. The same blueprint of the Exodus that Paul revealed on a global scale. We're going to repeat the same exact things that happened. So your grandfather, Pastor Frank E. Leggett the third. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. And the reason why we're doing this, all right, you got to understand why we're doing this. So the Bible is broken up in twos, right? Mm-hmm. You got a Old Testament and a New Testament, right? Let's see, we got 2 lions here, right? He said the lion from the tribe of Judah, right? Mm-hmm. But he said, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. I am the first and the last. You understand? You see a pattern? Why is this important? It's important when it comes to judgment. All right? So at the end of the day, all of this is coming down to a moment in time where everybody has to stand in front of the Father. Right? It's called judgment. Right? But everybody has two witnesses. No testimony can be valid without two witnesses. No court of law. You got to have at least two witnesses. Or your claim is not even, is thrown out. It's not admissible in court without two witnesses. All right? So the word of God says, if two or three are gathered together in my name, all right, it will be done. Whatever you claim, when two or three are gathered, there I will be in the midst. And he said, when you touch and agree, when two of you touch and agree, it will be done. When you touch and agree and claim something together, in my name, it will be done for you, by my Father in heaven. Understand? So you got to have two witnesses. You know what I'm saying? So when you touch and agree, when I say, okay, yo, we about to go out here, we about to work in Haiti. And you gonna say, yo, I touch and agree. Pops, I want to get down. I want to make a difference in Haiti. All right, we both touched and agreed, and we spoke it into existence. Yo, we're gonna go here and do a work. We're gonna change lives, and we're gonna clean up what's going on over here. He said, when we both claim that we about to go do that work, he like, that work gonna get done by my Father in heaven, because you touched and agreed and claimed it in my name. Right? So I'm gonna show you where this is coming from. All right. So you see that book right there? Hand me that book right there, that Robert Kiyosaki book. Mm-hmm. So this says Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So this has become a movement, a financial movement, right? Economic empowerment, economic development, right? But when you have our Father who is in heaven, right? It's higher than this. What's higher than being rich? Richest, right? And what's lower than being poor? Poorest, right? So our Father said, higher than man's human thoughts is God's ideal for his children. Higher than man's human thoughts, right? So when man talks about riches, we talking about the richest, all right? And all fathers are not the same. All bloodlines are not the same. Some fathers have a will. Most fathers don't. All right. But our Father is the only one whose will is done on earth as it is in heaven. You know what a will is? A will is just an instrument to be able to pass down generational wealth, family wealth. All right. A will is the
Just a note that you write and you say, I'm giving my house.
it's
to
a
you."
covenant. It's basically the covenant that hands down from the father to the children, or from the parents to the siblings, the estate, the assets, the wealth. It's a transfer. Okay. So thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the richest dad. That's the richest will. That's the richest transfer. All right. So fortunately, in our will, we have a special clause attached. They call it a rider. All right. Whenever you have contracts and stuff, they have special clauses that they call a rider. It's an attachment that enhances the contract. It sweetens the pot. All right. So in our will, and only in our will, no other bloodline, no other family group, but the Godhead family group has this attachment and rider. All right. And this special rider is not only that last, turn to that last, what's the last book in the Bible? What's the last book in the Bible?
Oh, snap. Hold on.
Huh? Please don't. What's the last book in the Bible? Boy, you're embarrassing your grandfather. Revelation. So the last book in the Bible is Revelation. Because what better way to finish, to say it is finished, right? Than to reveal how everything is going to end up in the end. Understand? Huh? What better way for the King of Kings to say it is finished than for God to reveal it? Right? What better gift than to show, like, these are my children that I've been telling them I was gonna do this and do this and do this and do this and do this. And then to put the icing on the cake, I'm gonna finish my word by revealing that in the past I kept my word, and in the future, this is how I'm gonna crush the serpent, like I said I was gonna do. But the beautiful thing about our Father is he don't reveal his will just to anybody. You heard me?
Yes.
He said, surely the Lord God will do nothing before he reveals his will to his servants, the prophets. So if he went out of his way to distinguish his servants, the prophets, then obviously there must be a artificial, a counterfeit, a fake group of false prophets, right? That makes sense? So if he says, surely the Lord God will do nothing save he reveal his will to his servants, the prophets. All right, so what will is he talking about? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? And so if he says, surely he going to reveal how his will be done on earth as it is in heaven, he's saying he going to reveal his will to his servants, the prophets. All right, so let me show you what that means in reference to Papa. All right, and what it means in regards to you. And what it means in regards to what it is we handing off to the people. Man, what a video will pop up in it, man. So that was rugged. Where you at, Pops? You know, that's Dr. Light. You ain't on there. It gotta be on the Father's wish. Man, I can't find it. All right, here, let's do this. Let's do it this way.
In the early 1800s, these fields were part of a slave plantation. The famous slave, Dred Scott, whose petition for personal freedom captured the attention of the Supreme Court, lived and labored here. His wife is believed buried here in this slave cemetery. Selected as a school for African Americans in 1895, this estate consisted of land, slave cabins, and a dilapidated manor house. From this humble beginning, God has used the consecrated ministry of Oakwood College to educate, train, and inspire young men and women for more than 100 years.
All right, so
What was his name?
Dred Scott. All right, Dred Scott is a famous. He was made infamous in the United States because he was one of the first to go into the court system and fight legally for his rights to be free. All right, so there's a link to the early 1800s and Oakwood University. All right, so I call you predestiny's beauty. It's a text in a word. Romans 8:30. Those who are predestined, he calls. Those who he calls, he sanctifies. Those who he sanctifies, he glorifies. Those who he predestines, he calls. Romans 8:30. All right. Predestined for what? For a purpose to be used in the service. All right. Those whom he predestines, he calls. Those he calls, he sanctifies. Sanctifies means makes righteous. Well done, my good and faithful servant. All right. So the U.S. military, when people go into the service, they call their people who go into that service patriots. All right. You're a patriot because you served this country by going to war on our behalf. Well, our Father says the same thing to us when we enter his army and we go out on the battlefield. We sing the song, I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battle. So he says his servants, those who serve in his army, he calls them faithful. Another word he uses for faithful is righteous. You're sanctified by entering into the covenant of service with me. So when you go and enter into the covenant of service with me and you depart to go on the battlefield, then in the heavenly realms above, when I open up the Lamb's book of life and I'm mediating on behalf of my faithful servants when it comes to my Father, the judgment, sanctification is just, they have faithfully served. They have faithfully served. He don't call his people who enlist in his army patriots. He calls us faithful. Calls us the righteous. All right. But this text is where I got your name from. Those whom he predestined, he calls. You got to be called and you got to respond to the call first and then enlist and go into the service. And then go and display the proper actions that show that you fighting on the side, you producing the fruit of the faithful and the righteous. You can't be producing counterfeit fruit, idolatrous fruit, poison, bad fruit. No good seed brings forth bad fruit, and no bad seed can bring forth good fruit. He's saying if you bring forth bad fruit, then you're a U.S. patriot. You're not a kingdom faithful servant. It's two totally different things. All right. The reason I said that is because, and I showed you this Oakwood thing, is because your pop and your grandma Bev did not come from this. It wasn't like you was raised. All you know is this. They wasn't raised in this. Understand what I'm saying? He was called to this. Those who he predestines, he calls. And he heard the call and he responded properly to the call. Then he enlisted in the army and he went into the service. And he has fought faithfully in the service. And then he's trained up generation after generation in the way that they should go. That's what he called, that's what the King of Kings defined as sanctification. That process. Those who he predestined, he called. Those he called, he sanctified. Those he sanctifies, he glorifies. Like if you go through the process of fighting on the battlefield for him, then he's going to give you the victory. That's the glorification. All right? So, real quick, I want to show you why we. So you know we've been working with in Orlando. We've been going up to Paramore, right? And we've been working with the pastor in Paramore, and we've been meeting, and we've committed to adopting that neighborhood, right? But more importantly, we've been working in that neighborhood and all of those neighborhoods in West Orlando since we got here. All right. And our message now, the message that I want delivered, the responsibility that I'm handing to you, and the responsibility that I'm handing to your younger brother, who is at the same age now, 6 years old, as your older brother was when we first came down here. All right? This is a cycle. This is a business cycle. What we're going to do is hand to them a business cycle. A successful business cycle that we've already proven works. A cycle of transferring the father's inheritance that has been stolen and taken and put in ungrateful hands. So when the king of Egypt had the children of Israel enslaved in Egypt, they had a king who was unfaithful and ungrateful for the assets and the wealth that he had in his nation. Joseph had already come and showed them that if they were faithful servants and enlisted in the King of Kings army, that Egypt and the world would be blessed, right? But as soon as Joseph and the Pharaoh changed, Joseph passed away. the original Pharaoh that he was working with. And now his descendant came, and the word of God says, and there was a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. And he knew not Joseph's God. And the children of Israel suffered because a lot of them knew not Joseph and knew not Joseph's God. Well, what happened? God called a faithful servant to lead his people back and build a championship to safety. All right? And he gave Moses the same thing he'd been given and given and given over and over and over again. All right? So when we came down here to Orlando, Florida, we came down here doing something that has been a proven system of transformation, rehabilitation, and replenishment to take people from the slums and transform them and send them to the heights of the highest heights. All right. So I message in that neighborhood, and I message to everybody. If y'all listening, if y'all in Paramore, if y'all in Washington Shores, if y'all Pine Hills, Apopka, yes, we've been working with Pastor Lewis. And Pastor Lewis has a passion for the Paramore community. And our simple message to Paramore and to the pastor and to everybody working with the pastor and to all of the people living there in Paramore and in Washington Shores and everywhere is there is an ascension program. There is an ascension program that the richest dad has been handing down to his children, his faithful servants, to hand off from generation after generation after generation, so that whenever our people find themselves in the situations that these neighborhoods find themselves in, that they can be restored and rebuilt. The people living there can go from lost to co-heirs, from prodigal sons wallowing in the muck and the mire to sitting at the right hand of the Father, can go from the slums to kings of the, and queens of the mountain. And we're not talking about starting from scratch. What we're talking about doing is handing down through a generation of young people who have been trained and raised by individuals who have made the same transformation. The work that Pastor Lewis wants to do in Paramore specifically, the foundations have already been laid. The Ascension program has already been built. Let me read y'all text. 1 Corinthians 3:10 through 15. It's called Building God's Kingdom. There's another text that he said that we will rebuild the old waste places. Rebuild the old waste places. So our communities, our homes, our neighborhoods, our families that have been destroyed by a system, a systematic, unnatural, man-made disaster aimed at the family, the community, the home, the husbands, the wives, the children, your finances, your education, every walk of your life. We've taken and broken the system of attack down to root causes. We don't deal in symptoms, we deal in root causes. And we've broken each and every attack, and we've identified it as a curse. Because the King of Kings separated, I will put enmity between your seed and the serpent seed. He said, your seed, those who are created in my image, blessings are reserved for you. And then the seed of the serpent are those who reject the cornerstone, my son, who is the image of the Godhead bodily. And to that seed, those who reject the cornerstone, I have reserved curses. So all we've done is we've identified the cycle, generational curses, and we've identified generational blessings. And it's super simple. It's just like math. It's just like science. If you want to reject the curses and insert yourself in the secret place of blessings, then he's identified. There's 4 streams. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. There's 4 streams surrounding the birthright land of promise. There are 4 streams around the first fruits, blessings and promises. 4 streams, land flowing with milk and honey. 4 streams, birthright, blessing, that's the female streams. 4 streams, first fruits blessings, that's the male rivers. Streams of income. Aggressive residual streams of income. 4 streams, birthright, female, in the promised land. 4 streams of first fruits blessings. Well, how do you do it? It's already been done. So when Paul was taken through the same transformation that my grandfather was taken through, and my father was taken through, and that I was taken through, and that I've been taking my children through. When Paul was taken through that situation, even when you are unfaithful, this ain't even for the faithful, yo. This is for the prodigal sons of the world. The Paul journey, it's not even for his faithful servant. It's not even for the Enoch. It's not the Enoch walk. Paul's journey is not the Job walk. So there's no excuses. Like Paul, he called Paul just so that no human being on the face of the earth could ever make an excuse about not getting right spiritually. Paul is not an example of faithfulness. Paul is a total example of unworthy, don't deserve grace, mercy. And that is not the only covenant. And if you believe that is the only covenant, and that's the only people who God say, that's a lie. You've been deceived. Because Noah, you are perfect in your generation. Paul's walk is not Noah's walk. Paul's walk is not Enoch's walk. So wherever you are in Paramore, wherever you are in the world, our message to the highways and the byways is, yo, it ain't no more excuse, yo. And this text is coming from that background. Paul, a murderer. Paul, a member of the Sanhedrin. So this post talks about fake wise men, Magi, school days. Paul was taught by a man by the name of Gamaliel. And so most people make the assumption that because you're talking about Pharisees, you just assume that they're spiritually right. But the word of God tells you the whole time, the King of Kings, who was spiritually perfect, had no greater foe or enemy than the Pharisees. There was nothing spiritually right about the group that Paul was studying under and was being taught by. The schools, the spiritual schools of the day were so satanic and so Roman. That is the whole message behind Paul. God calling Paul is not to show the difficulty in serving God. It says, God calling Paul is saying, yo, it's nobody under the face of the earth who should not be being used to transform my people. Because if I could use Paul, every last one of y'all could be used. Blind, totally blind. This world is being led by spiritual leaders who are spiritually totally blind. And our message is simple. We've purposely reestablished the enmity and separated ourselves from the spiritually blind. And we've built an ascension program to help our people come out of spiritual blindness like Paul and build a foundation and help pass down the mantle of the ascension program from spiritually blind to faithful servant. It's an ascension program. So now I'm going to read this text. 1 Corinthians 3, 10 through 15. This is Paul now. After he's become an alien in this nation. We're aliens in this nation. This is who we are. For generation after generation, we've been being taken through this process. The King of Kings met Paul on the Damascus road and said, Paul, you are unfaithful. I need you to go to faithful servant. You are wicked, blind, deaf, dumb. You're satanic. You're worshiping my enemy. But you were predestined. This is the text that I gave you. Romans 8:30. Those who are predestined. You are predestined to transform. You are predestined to be called. Why? Because God says, I have sheep of many folds. So I got many people in this wicked satanic Sanhedrin who worship the Babylonian Talmud and have rejected my commandments and my laws, who've gone down into Babylon and are Babylonian worshipers. But I got a lot of my children in that fold. And so, in order to create the ascension program from lost Babylonian Talmud worshiping satanic Sanhedrin, Pharisees and Sadducees to start an ascension program from that cesspool back into glorification, I need to call one from that fold. When y'all read those texts in John chapter 10 and it says, I have sheep of many fold, God is not putting his stamp of approval on the fold of faith that you're in. It's the opposite. He said the only thing good in the fold of faith is I am the door. The mustard seed of faith that he said. When every fold of faith makes reference to my name, to me at all, that is the mustard seed of opportunity, of way of escape out of the fold. Because the doctrines and the teachings and everything else in the fold is totally trash. But I got sheep in the fold, and I am the gate. I am the door. Anybody coming into the fold, coming any other way. So if you got people coming into the fold that's rejecting me, but identifying with that fold of faith, he like, they ain't got nothing to do with me. They a liar and a thief and a robber. Anybody in any fold of faith that comes into your fold of faith and they reject me, the door, but they identify with your fold of faith, God, like, that's your identifying mark. So when I come and I open my voice and here go the call, those who are predestined, he called. He said, I have sheep of many folds. I know them and they know me. They hear my voice, the call, and come out and find green pastures. Get out of them folds. You are the sanctuary. You are the sanctuary. So, 1 Corinthians 3:15, 10 through 15. By the grace God has given me, I have laid a foundation as a wise builder. This is not Saul speaking. Saul was the wicked, lost Pharisee. The spiritual community of his day, he was lifted up. Just like Donald Trump is being lifted up. Just like the chick in Donald Trump's spiritual advisor being lifted up. Everybody in Donald Trump's campaign, they're all lifted up, but they're all Babylonian Talmud worshipers. They all worship the Kabbalah to this day, right now. They are in the identical situation that Saul was in. Identical spiritual situation that King Saul was in. It's not a coincidence that Saul, who transformed to Paul, and Saul, the king of Israel, had that same name. It's no coincidence. Lost. So don't listen to this text and think this is Paul speaking after transformation, after being called out of the fold of Hebrew, Pharisee, Sadducee, Sanhedrin, out of being called out of that fold. Once he's been called out into the everlasting gospel, that fold was not the everlasting gospel. He had to be called out of being a Pharisee and a Sadducee. So people running around here talk about, yo, the 144,000, we need to get into the 144,000, then you're going backwards. God didn't call no people to get into Abraham's covenant. He never, no. He was calling the children of Abraham out of the ignorance of that inferior covenant back into his everlasting gospel. And if y'all still don't understand that right now, so Paul made a transformation. And now he's coming back, and he went all over in spreading that transformation causing other people to transform. And now he's saying, let's form. All of you who have come out of all of these folds of faith, I've been to Athens, all of you Greeks, worshiping the Greek pantheon, the Herodians. I've been to Rome, all of you Romans worshiping the Roman pantheon. That would then become Christianity. All of you all, come on out of all of those folds and let's form. Into the image of the Godhead bodily. It's the Son of God. The sons and daughters of God. The men of renown, the men of old. The way. Let's form in the way. Let's form like Voltron in the way. The truth and the light. Let's get in the way. Time to form. And he got it done. So now that he's coming back and he like, yo, God gave Jacob a dream. Then he said, I will feed you on the inheritance of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. I already spoken it to existence. I'm going to feed you on the inheritance of Jacob. That's the ascension program. Jacob's ladder. Going from lost to going home in my father's house. There are many mansions. The ascension program. Jacob's ladder. First base, second base, third base. Home plate. The ascension program. The secret place ascension program. He that dwelleth in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The secret place ascension program. Once Paul had finished the transformation, and once Paul had served in the army, going and rescuing others out of these folds of faith, delivering the call and the message to come out. Then once they came out to the secret place, then in the secret place, the ascension, the ladder, I will feed you with the inheritance of Jacob. There is a ladder that is built in the very specific spot. Jacob called it El Bethel. The King of Kings called it Emmanuel Hoods. Emmanuel Hoods, not neighborhoods. Our secret place is the Emmanuel Hood. God dwells with us. Emmanuel. The secret place. Emmanuel Hoods. We calling y'all out to the sanctuary called the Emmanuel Hoods. We've made Paramore a Godhead quarters. Godhead quarters. But there's 4 corners to a cornerstone. So the same work we've been doing and the same ascension program we built in Paramore, we also built over in Washington Shores. Ascension program. The same ascension program we built over in Washington Shores and in Paramore, we built in Pine Hills simultaneously. And the same ascension program that we built in Paramore and Washington Shores and Pine Hills, we also built in Apopka. Because the cornerstone has 4 dimensions, 4 corners. You're incomplete without the 4 corners. Quarterback. So, I'm going to finish this and then get out of here. The grace God has given me, I have laid a foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care, for no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid. And if anyone builds on that foundation with using gold or silver or costly stones or any hay or straw, Their work will be shown for what it is because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and fire will test the quality of each person's work. The work we've already done. It's going to take a fiery furnace experience, a trial experience for you to go through the transformation process and to join us in the ascend. But that's the only part of the process. So we want y'all to come join us. Peace.